Hi everyone, it's Dr. G, back with you to talk today about technology and culture and cultural diversity. So let's go ahead and get started. We will start with a look at the transformation of societies based on technological development. And so that brings up a term, and that is technology. So let's go ahead and define technology. Technology refers to the knowledge that people use to make a way of life in their surroundings. Another way of looking at technology is basically a new way of thinking about something or a new way of doing something. So because of technological developments over the years, societies have been able to change or develop. And so there are 5 major types of societies that have developed due to major technological advancements, including hunting and gathering, horticultural and pastoral, agricultural, industry, and post-industrial information. So let's start with hunting and gathering societies. Here we're talking about at least 2 million years ago where people were basically hunter-gatherers. People would hunt for animals and they would gather plants. The major unit of organization in hunting and gathering societies was basically the family, and groups were relatively small, between 25 and 40 members. You had to keep groups small because there was always concern that there may not be enough food to go around. There were few social divisions other than men hunt and women gathered, and in some cases, women hunted and men gathered. And they were nomadic, they were mobile, constantly moving around looking for food supplies. They used simple tools. And then there was a major shift, there was a major revolution, and that major revolution was the domestication of plants and animals, which then brings us to the pastoral and horticultural societies. Here, again, we're looking at thousands and thousands of years ago. Pastoral and horticultural societies used more complex tools to do their farming and to enclose animals and to raise crops. They, instead of running around looking for food on plants or looking for animals, brought the food to them by enclosing animals in enclosed areas and by planting food where they wanted it. Groups were able to grow larger than the hunter-gatherers because there was more security in food for all. It also allowed for some free time for some of the members in these societies to explore things other than simply food production. Like people started specializing in making tools, and some people became religious leaders, for example. All right, and then there's another major revolution coming, and that was due to the invention of the plow, which leads us to the agricultural society. The agricultural society started about 12,000 years ago. This allowed for large-scale cultivation using plows, which were harnessed to animals. Societies continued to grow larger and larger, and work became more and more specialized. All right, there's another major revolution coming, and that revolution was the invention of steam and other energy-powered machinery, leading to industrial societies. Industrial societies started back in the 1700s, so not that long ago. Production became far more efficient because now, instead of human beings doing things with their hands, machines were doing that type of work. All right, one other major invention coming, the invention of microchips in the computer, leads us to the post-industrial society. That's the type of society that we currently live in here in the United States. So it's only just a few decades old. And most of the people that live in post-industrial societies work with either information, computers, and or services. The one thing that I'd really like you to think about before we leave this section is, what would your life be like if you were born in one of these other societies other than a post-industrial society like our own? For example, how would your life be different if you were born into a hunting and gathering society? It would be extremely different. Okay, so that's something I'd like you to give some thought to. All right, I'd like to talk a little bit about cultural diversity. We're going to talk about subcultures, countercultures, high and popular culture, and multiculturalism. So let's start with a subculture. A subculture is defined as some groups are so distinct that they set its members off from the general culture. Each subculture, which is a world within the larger world of the dominant culture, has a distinctive way of looking at life. Okay, so their views and beliefs are not necessarily completely against the larger dominant society, but they have some unique characteristics that set them apart from the larger dominant culture. So some examples would be the Amish, hipsters, and goths. Okay, let's compare that to countercultures. Countercultures set their members in opposition to the dominant culture. They may have norms and or values that are incompatible with the dominant culture. All right, so some examples here include the KKK, religious extremists like the Westboro Baptist Church, and even outlaw biker gangs. Okay, now let's turn our attention to what's called high and popular culture. High culture refers to cultural patterns that distinguish a society's elite, the well-to-do, whereas popular culture refers to cultural patterns that are widespread among a society's population. In other words, the middle class and the lower class, the masses of people within a culture. All right, so an example, here's a really great example. There is no difference at all between a violin and a fiddle. However, we name the instrument a violin when it is used to produce classical music that's typically enjoyed by a person of high position. But we call it a fiddle when the musician plays country tunes appreciated by people with lower social standing. Okay. Finally, let's talk quickly about multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is a perspective recognizing the cultural diversity of the US and promoting equal standing for all cultural traditions. This is opposed to what some people would like to see in the US, and that's more of a traditional approach, and that would be people that are non-immigrant, white, from a European descent, Christian English speakers. All right. I believe that multiculturalism is a good thing because it allows people to see that other people look at the world differently, they do things different, and that different doesn't mean bad. Different simply means different. And by looking at how other people do things, one of the positive outcomes might be that you say, hey, I kind of like what those people are doing over there. That's a better way of doing that than the way that I currently do it. So I'm going to change the way that I do something. Same things when it comes to thinking about things. Wow, I never thought about it quite that way. You know, maybe in another culture, they look at it and they think about something in a very different way. And it's like, I've never been exposed to that. So that's something that I'd like to incorporate within my thinking. So that's a quick look at technology and culture and cultural diversity. I hope that you have enjoyed it, and I hope to see you back very soon. Bye-bye.